We're still sorry for what military families are living in. That was the message from the heads of companies responsible for private housing nationwide as they testified before a House Armed Services subcommittee. 10 Investigates Courtney Robinson has exposed problems with mold and other issues on MacDill Air Force Base. And Courtney, this is not over.
Oh, it is not over at all, Carolina. It is not. Lawmakers say they are still getting pictures just like the ones that you see here provided to us by families from MacDill. They show mold. CEOs told lawmakers they want to get housing right. One even said the gold standard is when service members can talk to their spouses and kids about life, not housing problems. Lawmakers weren't satisfied.
In the case where there is a child who has been affected by this, who will permanently be disabled because of this, what responsibility do you all have and do you all plan for with your for-profit businesses to make sure that those children and those families are being taken care of? Or do you expect that the government will do that for you?
Most of the CEOs said if it is proven that they are to blame, if they are proven to be at blame for a child's health condition, then they will pay. Remember, there's a lawsuit right now by military families from MacDill saying that their kids have forever been impacted. When it comes to MacDill, the Air Force has said it is one of the top 3 bases in the country facing significant quality and performance problems by the private companies in charge. The Secretary of the Air Force also says on MacDill, 241 homes built by the Air Force, now owned by Clark, have systemic moisture issues. That's 42% of homes on base. She also says that since 2017, the private company in charge has had to treat mold and fix moisture problems in almost 300 homes. Another 68 are on the list to be repaired. That's not going to be done until 2022. So how much does all of this cost? So far, $11.5 million just for those homes.
I mean, they're just past dilapidated. They're past non-livable. They should be condemned.
Melissa Godoy is talking about these barracks built in the 1970s on Smoke Bomb Hill at Fort Bragg. Godoy is an advocate for good military housing for our soldiers. She's been in touch with the troops on Smoke Bomb Hill.
Mold just covering every surface in their room. They're coming back to their belongings full of mold. They're living with asbestos, severe water leaks, flooding, poor ventilation, no AC.
This isn't the first time issues have been reported about living conditions inside barracks on post. In 2008, soldiers posted these pictures from the barracks in the 82nd Airborne Division. The outrage sparked change. A year later, they were torn down and eventually replaced. Military leaders at Fort Bragg have acknowledged the problem. They say about 1,200 soldiers living in a dozen Smoke Bomb Hill barracks are systematically being relocated.
You don't have 50-year-old buildings without issues. Certainly the better way to take care of soldiers is to go ahead and make the decision we're making now, which is to take soldiers out of those barracks and then move to demolish the majority of those barracks and refurbish where we need to.
But all of this is going to take time. Meanwhile, we're told soldiers are living in some very difficult situations.
Right now, we're still working to create the spaces. As soon as we've identified the space that can be created for soldiers to move, then we'll go ahead and we'll go to the next phase, which is internal moves within organizations so that they can keep their troopers together.
The Genrich story began in late August 2018. They moved from Fort Bragg to MacDill, a new assignment and excitement for the couple.
It was absolutely stunning. We were very, very happy the first 3 weeks we lived there.
3 weeks?
Yes, 3 weeks before my husband became symptomatic.
Her 36-year-old husband started having headaches, brain fog, and trouble breathing. Doctors didn't know what was wrong.
That's when you begin to realize that this might be what's making you sick, and that you've lived in this home since August.
Jenny Genrich says a leak from their AC caused mold. She'd reported that leak to maintenance with Harbor Bay, which manages the private housing on MacDill. The leak was fixed, but Jenny says there was nothing done to remove areas that were exposed to water and moisture.
I was honestly shocked at what I was seeing, a little scared and a little shocked.
What were you seeing?
I was seeing mold, what appeared to me to be mold on studs, on subflooring, and on pieces of sheetrock. We were scared that maybe he had a tumor or cancer or something was really wrong. Again, we didn't know we had mold.
It wasn't until January that a private doctor diagnosed him with sick building syndrome. At the same time, military families across the U.S. were reporting problems with privatized military housing. MacDill seemed to be ground zero for mold concerns. The Air Force ordered a nationwide review of housing. Families in 97 of the 572 homes on MacDill, 17% reported concerns of mold to the Air Force. 10 News also found an Air Force review that cites mold from construction quality, including moisture from rain, flooding, and leaks from HVAC and refrigerators as the #1 concern for top Air Force leadership during base visits.
It should be a concern. The HVAC is what I believe caused all of these problems.
Their home was remediated in March. This report shows the work that was done. A test after only found a rare level near the AC and stairway, which is common in homes, so they moved back in.
We became symptomatic again, and the testing indicated otherwise, that there was still mold present in the home.
The Ginricks decided they were out. When we visited MacDill in July, we saw this, mold remediation happening in homes on base.
And I do get frustrated when I think about the fact that another family may have moved into that home and it may not have been properly remediated even after we left.
A spokesperson for MacDill told us, quote, initial construction may be one of many factors that caused concern for mold issues in base housing. However, all homes were built to Florida and national building codes as required by law.
Is it really anything different than what you would see across Tampa Bay?
Again, I'm sorry, I really can't talk about ongoing projects.
Stephen Lipson is the industrial hygienist working on MacDill's mold issues. He's not remediating the work, just making sure it's done right.
I like to say there's no such thing as a mold problem, it's a moisture problem. Mold is just what you get when you have one. Speed is the best of all things. When it comes to water intrusion and mold growth, the faster you react to it, the cheaper it is, period.
Jenny Ginrick wishes she'd known something, anything about mold. Had she says she'd have pushed harder for maintenance to do more when she first noticed the problems.
In the end, we ended up being the ones to suffer for that. This has really impacted our life.
For military families, there are things that you can do if you think that you have mold. First, contact the Harbor Bay Housing Office and immediately file a work order. You can also download the Active Building app. There you'll see past and current work orders. You can also ask if your house has ever been remediated for mold. Finally, speak up. There is now an advocate hired and employed by the Air Force, not Harbor Bay, to help you. Let them know, let the command know. They do not want this to be a silent issue.
10 Investigates also pressed the private management company about what they're doing to stop this problem. To see their response, check out this story in our 10 News app under 10 Investigates.
Leaders at Fort Liberty are responding to claims that soldiers are living in deplorable conditions at their facilities.
It comes after more than 1,000 people were moved out of the Smoke Bomb Hill Barracks. CBS 17's Dina Harley shows us pictures sent to CBS 17 with conditions in which soldiers say they are living.
Flooded water and apparent mold. New photos sent to CBS 17 show conditions that soldiers at Fort Liberty say they've been living in for months now. The people who sent the photos in did not want to do an interview in hopes of staying anonymous, but they say they've made their concerns clear to leadership on post, complaints they say are often ignored. In some cases, soldiers reported being moved out of barracks with bad conditions into buildings with even worse problems. A spokesperson for Fort Liberty sent CBS 17 a statement which says in part, quote, "The Fort Liberty garrison is not aware of any of these issues listed. The health and welfare of our soldiers is of greatest concern," end quote. It went on to say health and wellness of soldiers is at the forefront of Army readiness, and when they do receive a maintenance request, it's prioritized and responded to appropriately. These complaints come after Fort Liberty moved around 1,200 soldiers out of the Smoke Bomb Hill barracks that did not meet HVAC standards starting last summer. I asked for an update on how many soldiers were still living in those barracks, but a spokesperson did not specify. They did say 5 of those facilities are being fully renovated to meet health standards, while 12 of the buildings are being prepared to be fully demolished. In studio, Dina Harley, CBS 17 News.